You also could have gotten a decimal for that if you wanted. I'll figure out what it is real quick.
1.5.
No, it's going to be, I think, bigger than that. Or, yeah, maybe you're right, actually. 1.856 is what I got. So 1.86 rounded. Okay, so you can leave it as the radical form, or you can change it into a decimal. Either is fine. What questions do you guys have about that process?
So anytime we see an equation like that, all we're doing is filling in f of x, right?
Yeah, exactly. All you do is you figure out what each of these f values are, and you replace them with the number, and then you solve it that way. So you guys seemed pretty equipped with graphing. Would you rather me graph this out, or would you rather me give you another one of these evaluate questions?
What was the second option?
So either do another one of these evaluate questions, or in my last class, we went through and we like graphed out the first problem. We can do either.
Evaluate.
The evaluate. So let's do it with the function up here, okay? All right. So evaluate, let's do 2 times f of -3 plus f of 0 minus f of 4. Okay, so f of -3, where is -3 in these domains? Yeah, it's in this first one. So I want to sub that into here. So I want to sub -3 into my absolute value. So I'm going to have 2 times absolute value of -3. Then where is 0 for this f of 0? Is it the first, the second, or the third domain?
The second?
Yeah, it's between -1 and 1. So I'm going to have plus 0, and I want to stick it into this function. So I'm going to have 0 squared. And then my last one is f of 4. F of 4 is in which of the domains?
The last one.
Mm-hmm. And so if it's in the last one, what value am I always going to put no matter what my x value is?
4.
Yeah, so I'm going to subtract 4. Okay, so maybe this will help. Let me get some more colored highlighters. I need one more color. There we go. So the f of -3, we replace with this. The f of 0, we replace with this. And the f of 4, we replaced with the 4. Okay, so does everybody see how all the substitutions we made there?
Yes.
Okay, so now let's actually simplify this. What is the absolute value of -3? Can somebody say that again? I think somebody. What's the absolute value of -3? Tanaya, what's the absolute value of -3?
Do we multiply?
So absolute value, you just number that's inside and make it positive.
Say it
Say it one more time.
Yeah, because I couldn't hear you going in and out.
Oh my goodness. Microsoft Teams is being so bad. I'm sorry. So what is the absolute value of -3 if it just spits out positive, the same value but positive?
Oh, okay.
So what should I make this?
3, right?
Yeah, I just didn't hear you. It's not your fault. I'm sorry. And then 0 squared is 0 minus 4. 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 4 should give me positive 2. Okay, so that would be your final answer. What questions do you guys have on that? Okay. You guys feel a little bit more confident?
Yes.
Yes.
I had a question.
Yeah, go for it.
For the f of 4,
Yeah.
how do we get 4?
So
Didn't we just
see how
keep
the
it the same?
function, yeah, see how the function is just 4? That means no matter what x value I stick in, I get out of 4.
Okay.
So like a table for that. So it starts at 1, that would be an open circle, and you would get 4, and its value's bigger, so 2, 3, 4. You get 4 every single time.
Okay.
So I'll highlight that. So this function with this domain would give you a table like this. Okay, and if you graph that, it's just, so at 1, you'd have an open circle. It's just a straight line at 4. So all the x values here, no matter which one you picked, when you map up, you get 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Good question. Any other questions? Okay. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go over. So you guys have an around the world to work on today. Do you guys need this sheet up on the screen or can I move it? Okay, Tanaya says we're good, so we're gonna go with it. Okay, so you guys are doing an around the world. Let me zoom out a little bit. The around the world problems, so there are cards on there, both in English and Spanish. And the document with the cards will have the problem number, and this is the problem, and then a graph below it. The graph below it does not correspond with this function, okay? So A and 1 don't go together. What you'll do is you'll start out, so I started here with number 1. Your goal is to figure out what the graph for number 1 looks like. So you can go through, and so you can make your own tape, like chart, or, oh, excuse me, I posted one on Canvas if you want to print it out. But your work will be a table or a graph sketch, a sketch of a graph. Okay, so I've shown you each of those here. You're gonna look for what that graph looks like. So here in this problem, I would look at this function and I would say, okay, well, my dots, the open and closed dots, are gonna be on 0. Okay, so I'm gonna look through, and I know it's not A. A is not, and I'm gonna look through my other graphs, and I'm gonna say, okay, these have dots on 0, so I can hold on to that. This does not have dots on 0. They're not on the y-axis, so I'm gonna throw that one to the side. This one does not have dots on the x-axis, so I'm going to throw it, or the y-axis, so I'm going to throw it to the side. I'm going to go through each one of them like that and try to like eliminate some. Once I have all the ones where my dots are on the y-axis, let me just go ahead and pull out the other. So this one has it, and this one has it. So there are 3 graphs where our dots are on zeros, okay? Now I want to narrow these down. So I go back to my function and I look. I say, okay, well, what would my value here be if I subbed in 0? So 0 times 3 is 0, plus 1 is 1. So I'm going to have a closed dot at 1. So I would kind of sketch closed dot, say that's at 1. Okay. And I'd say, okay, what would my open dot here look like? So I sub in 0. 1/2 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. So I should have an open dot at 2. So I drew out an open dot here. So then I would look through. This one I know can't be it because they're both on the negative y-axis. So that one can't be right. Now I'm down between 2. This one has a closed dot at 1, which is great. That one has a closed dot at 1, which is great. Then this one's open dot is negative, and that's not what I had on my sketch of the graph. So I know that my number 1 must correspond with graph K. Okay, so then I would write out my sketch as my work, write in my graph. So my graph here is K. And then I want to figure out what f of 0 actually is. So I would look here at my graph K. On x equals 0, the closed dot is 1. So my f of 0 is 1. If you just look at the graph and you know that that's what f of 0 is, that's fine. Or if you want to say, oh, 0 is included in this domain, so I know it goes into this function. So I'm going to do 3 times 0 plus 1, 0 plus 1, and then 1, and show your work. That's fine as well. So for each problem, you're like showing some sort of work, which may look like sketching out a table or a graph. You're writing the graph that that number corresponds to and what f of 0 is. So now, because number 1, so this was number 1, the function here corresponded to graph K, I would do number 11 next. So on my sheet, I would write number 11. And I decided to show you guys with tables for the next one. So I would do a table starting at 1 with each of them. These are going to be values less than or equal to 1. These are values greater than 1. And I would sketch those out and then look for the corresponding graph there. I ended up finding that my corresponding graph was J. So let me see if I can find it for you. So J is here. So I found this graph. I have to find f of 0 so I can look along the y-axis for x is 0, find that point, and I get that it's at -2. So I would write in that f of 0 was at -2, and J is on number 10, so I would do number 10 next. Okay. If the finding the problem with the graph that corresponds, if that part is confusing to you, it's fine to just do like 1, 2, 3, 4 and find the matching graph and find f of 0. As long as you show all your work, that's fine. The around the world part of it is the like, oh, I do number 1 and then I find my answer on another card and I do that number. And normally you guys would walk around the room. Okay, I just threw a lot of information at you at one time. So what questions do you guys have about that assignment? So the requirements are definitely that you have to show some sort of work, which is a graph or a table sketch. You have to have the corresponding graph to the correct number, and you have to show what f of 0 is for each one, or at least write what f of 0 is. It's fine if you use the graph to get what f of 0 is.